Evening all. So, okay, before we go into the actual footage here, let me just make a quick public announcement. We now have an in-game channel called Kicking Dust. If you want to come play with us, if you want to come shoot us, or if you just want to talk shit with us, please join the channel Kicking Dust, as you saw just a moment there. You don't have to be in the corp to join that channel. You can be basically just anybody. Just come join and come talk with us. And yeah, that's it. Basically, just come and converse. We'll join squads. We'll do some non-corp squads. We'll just play with you if you're interested. So come on in. So here we go. This is going to be a bit of a run and gun show. I'm having a really bad day in the game at the moment. I just seem to be completely sucking everything at the moment, and it's just difficult, difficult few matches against some really good players. So if you're one of the people in this video who killed me, thank you, buddy. I hate you, and die in a fire. And of course, I don't mean that, but well done. This was some really tough matches, some really, really tough matches. And I think with the skill cap going, we've got some really good players, obviously learning and skilling up, getting better equipment. The amount of sniper rifles, top-end tier sniper rifles, who are now basically killing everybody on the map, is pretty funny. So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't become out of hand, because obviously I think it's getting there. But I don't know. We'll see. But this was a good match. Basically, this map's pretty good. I love the variations of this particular map. I think there's some really nice, different styles of play going on with these different maps, and really enjoying it, really having a good fun. And you can see here I'm running my laser, just doing generally a bit of run and gun, not really paying too much attention, to be honest. Just trying to have some fun and get some kills. But obviously all my fits are completely broken at the moment, but anyway, I digress. What I was going to do is just go through some of the comments in this video again. I think certainly we've had a lot of people asking questions, a lot of people asking particular video requests. That's awesome, thank you so much. This guy just seems to be able to tank me incredibly, and yeah, I suck because I get run over. He basically uses me as a bike stand. That's how terrible that was. So there we go. But let's go through some of the comments. Now, basically, I think a lot of people are kind of talking about tanks at the moment, and I think I've said in my previous video that tanks probably aren't overpowered. I think they're just maybe it's the pilots becoming very good with them, and then able to basically take on anything. We've had some really bad experiences with tanks these last maybe 3 or 4 rounds, where basically it just seemed, even with 2 to 3 forge gunners, it was very difficult to actually take this tank down, or these tanks rather down. There's a massive difference between the militia tank that you spawn in, which that's quite frankly is about as strong as a paper bag that's been immersed in water, whereas I think the the really good tanked, well fit tanks with 4,000 or 5,000 hit points, they're probably at the other end of the scale. And I was looking through some of the forge gun variants you can get, and I think there's not really a forge gun out there that's going to really be, I think, too much of a threat to these. So don't know, I'm going to maybe kind of change my opinion of tanks. Maybe they're a little bit OP at the moment, but I'd say that's only because the turrets are maybe so good. Blaster turrets are just, well, they're brilliant, aren't they? So anything kind of blaster driven at the moment is pretty much a mobile death wagon. Not in all cases, but I think you still get the odd idiot spawning in a militia tank, not really knowing what they're doing with it, drive it straight into a couple of swarm launchers and die after 2 hits, which is about right. But I'm going to do a video on tanks. I've been skilling up my tank pilot. I yet am to own with a tank. I seem to kill 1 or 2, then get blown up with AV grenades or similar, which kind of sucks, but that's probably me just being an idiot. But and I think certainly we're going to look more at the vehicles as well. I think certainly the dropship, we're going to look at a bit more depth in that one. So lots of questions about tanks, lots of questions about the way they can be countered and the kind of fits that people use. So we'll do a video on that, but I just wanted to kind of rekindle that debate. I think certainly my position is slightly changing, because I think what it is there's too many people who are just spawning in tanks every round, never dying, and basically just getting 30, 40 kills. And there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong, I'd love to do that, but whenever something becomes incredibly OP, then all of a sudden you get a problem. But here's a great example. This is just a normal militia tank, and this feels about right. It dies to about 4 forge gun shots, which feels about right. But I think it's just slightly frustrating. I think that the tanks can just be so, I guess, invincible. But it's a tricky one. I know the argument both for and against, because I want to use tanks like this as well. But so we'll see. I mean, as you can see, he just wiped out that guy pretty easily right there. Anyway, that's question 1. Let's have a look at some of the other questions we've had. Somebody's asked me if we can have a look at some of the different classes. Now, I showed a bit of shotgunning footage last time, and I got a lot of mails asking me about what fit I was using and, you know, what my thoughts are about scout fits and all that good stuff. And, you know, I'm a big fan of scout suits. I think they probably are about right. I wouldn't say they're completely OP. I wouldn't say they're completely, you know, crap either. I'd say they're a particularly good suit to get. I think I'm a strong believer that you shouldn't just focus on one thing in this game, and already we're starting to see it as some of the people are really pushing their skill caps up. They're getting the level 5 sniper rifles like the dude up there who keeps sniping everyone, and they're just putting all of their skills into one aspect, which I know you should do, don't get me wrong, you should specialise, but I think at some point as well you need to look at other stuff in the game that you enjoy doing. So, you know, get a moderately powerful, I don't know, laser, assault rifle, sniper rifle character, but what I would then say is it's probably worth putting stuff into maybe the tank or the dropship, or maybe put some into a heavy suit for you can do for when you get bored of sniping, because at the moment it's seeing so many level 5 Protoss type snipers that it's just getting a bit concerning. And I think a lot of players are basically just saying every round, no matter what mand it is, I'm going to sit and snipe. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it gets boring, trust me, because I used to do that as well. And I think I found the minigun, I found the forge gun, I found the mass driver, I found, you know, the laser rifle. There's so many cool weapons in this game, and yet the same people we see in the same maps sniping from the same point over and over and over, and you know there's very little understanding of why they're doing that. Yeah, dude, I'm looking at you. Dude, you just died. And the sad thing was we counter sniped him a couple of times, and yet he still spawned up in the same location, just carried on sniping, which, you know, I get why you do it, but one map, you know, there he is. I mean, one map, maybe 2 maps, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 all day, then, you know, seriously, to me that just seems a bit of a waste, considering how cool this game can be when you do your kind of frantic minigunning or assault rifling or even shotgunning. You know, I think there's more to the game than just one gun. I think that's actually what I'm rambling and waffling to say, is that, you know, don't throw all of your immense skill cap points that you're accruing every day into just one thing. Maybe 2 things, just as a suggestion. Miniguns are pretty decent. I think a lot of people still are not using heavies very much yet. I think a heavy with a heavy machine gun is still a formidable and cheap way to do close combat fighting. Well worth it. I think it's worth it. I think they're good fun as well. But hey, you play the game how you want. I'm not telling you what to do. Let's have a look at what else we've got. Somebody asked me about skills, how we apply skills. Now, I probably will do a short video on this, because I think a lot of people are maybe they're doing the same mistake I did, which is buying skill books from the market and then not really knowing how to activate them and so on. So what I'd probably just, before we do that, what I'd probably recommend you do is only buy and use a skill book when you're able to use it. So, you know, if you want to put in, I don't know, assault rifles, wait until you can actually use the book and it's green across the board and you can use it, then purchase and use the skill book all in one go. Otherwise, you can end up buying a skill book and then buying it again, and that's obviously wasted this because you can't resell it. So just have a consideration that, you know, you probably don't want to do that. That dude, I think, was shooting me through the wall, so you need to look at that, because that sounded and looked a bit like an exploit. But I had this guy basically here, he kept shooting me through the wall, and I did add it a bit out there, but you'll see. I think, you know, with skill books, I think generally just try and you know, don't buy the skill book until you're actually ready to not just buy it but also plug it in and then apply skill points to it. It's a small point, but you'd be amazed the amount of money that I think people are wasting just buying 20 skill books and then not really being able to get back to them and then use them terribly easily. You can do that. You can go to your assets and then you can obviously claim the skill book from there. But I would say it's best and safest not to do it until you actually will use it, plug it in, and so on. So, you know, have a consideration there. I think that's probably one of the things we'll do about skill points. We'll just have a general video of that at some point as well. A few guys been asking me saying, looks good, great game, looks good, you know, pretty cool, but it's not on the PC, so therefore I'm not going to take part. Let me just give you a rundown of why you should maybe consider this. PlayStation 3s are about to be superseded by the PlayStation 4. That means you can buy a PlayStation 3 now and into the near future, the next few months, relatively cheaply. What you're going to see is a substantial amount of Xboxes, of PlayStation 3s coming on eBay. So have a look on eBay. There is always going to be the risk, if you do that, of buying something without a guarantee. So if you buy a PlayStation 3, then the next day it completely blows up and explodes. Don't blame me. Don't blame me, because that's always the risk you run by buying something like secondhand off eBay. The other one is, I don't know what you have in your country, but you may have something we call here cash converters. It's effectively a pawnbrokers. Now, I know they sound seedy, terrible, horrendous places of doom and misery, but they are, and that's why you can probably get a really cheap PlayStation from them, because, you know, poor little, you know, Timmy had his PlayStation repossessed because his mum kept going out to the clubs and getting high on meth. So you can make that horrible situation benefit you, which is a terrible capitalist thing to do. But, you know, to be honest, do you really give a crap? I certainly don't. So if you go to these kind of cash converters, or, you know, pawnbrokers, or I think cash converters is actually a trademark, so other pawnbrokers are available on the market. If you go in there, you should be able to get a PlayStation 3 second hand, maybe even with games and such, for very little. I can't tell you how much, but it will be moderately priced, let's say. So have a consideration about that. I know morally you have to be able to kind of reconcile yourself with that fact that you are buying a second-hand PlayStation 3, and yes, it's probably, so, you know, I don't even want to say it's stolen, because legally that big, totally against the law, and so therefore no pawnbrokers will do that. But yeah, okay, probably shouldn't. I should frown on that, and if you could see me right now, I'm frowning, honest. But I think, you know, just to consider things like that, because you can get a pretty decent deal on a PS3 from there. Tricky though, and again, you have no guarantee. I think you might get a guarantee of a month from a retailer like that. Also consider looking at some of the online shops like Amazon, and, you know, other online super mega empires who don't pay tax are available. But just have a consideration about that. So I know that's a really rambling long way to explain it, but I would say, you know, there are ways, there are means to get a PS3 that I think, you know, and yeah, this game is exclusive to PS3, but I think, you know, once you have it all set up and running, you've got a nice keyboard and mouse, which can be a standard computer keyboard and mouse, by the way. There's nothing special about them. You effectively have a game that is the same as a PC FPS, and if anything, it's a little bit kind of, I guess, more friendly than a PC FPS, because you can basically just press the on button and you're away. So that's probably all I'll say about that. I think, you know, there are a lot of ways to get a second-hand PS3, and I think, would I say it's worth it? Yep, I would. I think this is a really good game. I think it's only going to get better as well. I think also you're going to have real fun playing this game. And it is a good fun, and I think even just thing to bear in mind with a PS3, you do get quite a lot of gaming power with it, so you can actually kind of have a, you know, a nicer gaming experience than maybe the PC all the time. So I think, you know, just consider it, just you know, just giving you ideas, and I think, you know, there's plenty of ways to maybe do that. Okay, so that's probably all we've got time for. I think certainly please try and join the channel if you can. It would be awesome to see you in there. It'll be also awesome to run some squads with some fresh dudes. The corp's growing nicely, so if you fancy a corp battle, let's do that. That'll be good fun. Also, if you're doing anything interesting in Dust that you maybe want me to do a reportage of, that would be cool. I'd love to do that. So yeah, just you know, join the channel, give us a shout, give me an inbox email, and we'll come enjoy what you're doing as well. I think there's certainly a lot of factional warfare stuff going on, but we joined one particular faction warfare fight, and we were trying to stay in local to the FW guys in the system. Come to this planet, this district, and uplink to the system and come help us. win your system for you. And these guys were like, well, we want to do that, but we can't figure it out. So you know, I think, you know, it's tricky at the moment. I think that we almost need to kind of do something that explains very clearly to our Eve buddies how to actually help us in these fights. But that's another time, another video, and we'll cover that some other time. So there we go, another defeat. I think that was my 8th defeat in a row. I would like to say it's not my fault, but it probably was, because I keep cocking about with the forge gun. But you know, at the end of the day, skill cap's going nice as well. We're getting a huge amount of ISK, and we're getting a huge amount of SP as well. And it's going pretty well, so hopefully you're doing the same. And remember, join the channel Kicking Dust, and we'll see you next time.